Welcome to a first in a series of lessons on photography basics. Now, if there's one feature that can make your photography better, just one thing that could take your picture from a simple snapshot and bring it up to a work of art, it's composition. Now, our cameras today and photo editing software are so good, and they have amazing control over things like exposure, color. But listen, your photos will never succeed if the contents in the photo doesn't fit together. In this first lesson, I'm going to show you how to put it all together and make it all work. You know, just as a composer arranges a piece of music, he has to make decisions. He has to decide what sounds work together well, what sounds flow, and what sounds clash. You know, as photographers, we have to do kind of the same thing, and we do it out of what we can see around us. You see, to see a scene through a photographer's eyes, it is much different than just looking at the scene for just what it is. So we start composition with a fundamental technique or rule that has been known for centuries as the golden section. It's also been referred to as the golden mean. It's thought that if a composition follows this formula, one that can be traced back as far as the ancient Greeks, then the composition will be harmonious or in balance. The golden section has been used for centuries by painters and architects. The golden section is a mathematical equation that provides both vertical and horizontal lines within the composition at a ratio of 1 to 1.618 of the picture size in order to guide where you're to place the main subject or your points of interest. I don't even know what I just said. Listen, you're not going to need to remember this equation in photography. I'm only mentioning it to explain where our modern rule comes from that we've been using for years and years. So you see, in recent years, this rule, the golden section, has been replaced with what we call the rule of thirds. Here's the simplest explanation of the rule of thirds. Have you ever played the game tic-tac-toe? Think about the 4 lines that you draw when you start the game. Now draw an imaginary tic-tac-toe game over your photo. Got it? Now let's take them away. See how this photo is just kind of lacking something? Your eye goes right to the center, and that's all it looks at. It doesn't look at the rest of the photo. How about if we were to crop this image and place our bird in one of those PowerPoints? Let's see what it would look like. Notice now how it seems a little more balanced, and your eye tends to look around the image and keep coming back to the bird. This is what composition does for you. It holds the viewer's attention. Let's quickly look at one last image. In this picture, I have nowhere to look. My eye looks right at the rock in the center, and it just anchors there. Let's apply the rule of thirds, and let's change up our composition a little bit. Notice now things start to make sense. Not only is my eye immediately drawn to the rock, but I start looking around the image, and I want to keep spending time seeing what else is in the image. The rule of thirds, again, helps keep your viewer engaged in your photograph longer. There's something else I want you to notice. Now, it's not all about PowerPoints. Think about our horizontal third lines. Well, let's go back to our original image, or image before, and what you're going to see is, notice the horizon is almost dead center in this image. It kind of splits it right in half. You don't really know where to look, whereas in our second image, at the bottom third, that bottom horizontal line, that's where the horizon is placed. By placing the horizon on one of those thirds, it also helps to weight your photograph properly. Here's some rules that I want you to think about. If you put your horizon in the bottom third of your photograph, it says, I have something in the top 2/3 that I want to emphasize. If you put the horizon at the top third, it says, my foreground is more important and I want you to spend more time looking at my foreground. Remember, the rule of thirds is not set in stone, and having every picture conform to it will result in a bunch of similar and predictable photographs. Here's what's cool about the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds can be used on any type of photograph. It doesn't matter if you're photographing people, animals, landscapes, or an object. It doesn't matter if your image is rectangular, square, or even panorama. The rule of thirds will work on all of these types of images. Well, there it is. The rule of thirds is just that easy. But listen, the rule of thirds is not set in stone. You know, there's so many times that you're going to want to break the rules, but before you go and break rules, you really need to make sure you understand them to begin with. So the next time that viewfinder comes up to your eye, I want you to be thinking about the rule of thirds.